of the select board meeting for the town of Dartmouth, open at 6:30. Everybody please stand and pledge of allegiance to the flag and remain standing afterwards, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we offer a moment of silence for our first responders and for our healthcare workers, and for our veterans, both past and present. Okay, please be seated. Okay. I need a motion on the floor I need a motion from the board to authorize Mr. McGinnis to stamp the town warrant on our behalf.
So moved.
We have to approve it.
Moved by Mr. Mickelson and seconded by Mr. Gracie.
Yes, but we have to approve it before we can get them to sign it.
Okay. Well, okay. So then make the motion to approve and have them sign it on our behalf. Is that okay to adjust the motion, Mr.
Gracie?
Mickelson?
Mr. Mickelson, yes.
Is that okay, Mr. Gracie, for the second?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the motion to approve the warrant and to have Mr. McGinnis to use the stamp or to sign on our behalf, Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. Herron?
Yes.
And Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. Thank you. All right, first item on the agenda is 6:30 is a one-day event for the Russell's Mills Engine Company. And Mr. Leach is here on behalf of Fire District 2.
Yes,
Hi, Mr. Leach, how are you?
good.
This is your annual clam bake, correct?
Yes, we didn't have it last year, as you know, because of COVID. This year, we're hoping we can have it September 12th.
Well, sounds good. Tickets are available at the fire station and any firefighter?
Basically, at the fire station, we're probably going to end up with a standby list. We're still going through all the people that have come for years.
Terrific, great, thank you. And then the date would be?
September 12th.
September 12th, okay. Okay, board's pleasure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Gracie, seconded by Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
Mr. Herron?
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. All right,
Thank
well,
you very
good
much.
luck.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Enjoy.
Have a good one. All right, 6:32, we had the Thirsty Whale for 8 weekly events. My understanding is they were supposed to submit a written plan to the safety officer. That has not been done yet. So we were going to bypass this until we receive such a time. So we will hopefully take it up at our next meeting. Under new business, view the demo on the permitting. So we have, I believe, Chad Deschamps with us, Mr. McGinnis, and I believe Mr. Braggar's here for that also.
Yes. So, as you know, we've been making a big push this last year and a half to provide more services online, particularly our licensing and permitting. We started over a year ago with a product called View Permit. It's been a very successful rollout, in particular in the building department, as well as through the select board offices. You see that on the licenses that you review. We've also started to implement it for the Board of Health. So it's been very popular, very well received. Not only is it a great internal tool for collaboration and teamwork, but it's an external tool for communication with the public. So the applicants are notified in real time when there's action taken on their application or permit. And also they're allowed to do everything online via their laptop, their computer, their phone. So it's a really powerful tool. It's very easy to use. And I wanted Chad to come in and give you a demonstration of where we're at, how we're using it, how internally the staff uses it, how the public sees it, and also, how we're digitizing all of our documents to make them available to the public. So that, people want 24/7 service where, our goal is to provide that, and he's going to kind of demonstrate where we're at and how we're doing that. So with that, I'll hand it over to Chad Champs.
Thanks, Sean. So I'm going to give you guys a quick little rundown of all those things that Sean just mentioned. Let me share my screen. Okay. So we're going to start here on our town's webpage. This is where you would go if you're trying to apply for a permit. So right here on the front page, there's this button, this big button that says online permitting. So once you click that, that actually brings us to our online permitting site. And this is what the customer sees. So once you get here, you decide, what do I want to apply for? Maybe it's a building permit. You can see here, these are all the things that are online available in the building department. Any one of these things you can apply for and run through the process. So just for ease of demonstration, I'm just going to grab a regular residential building permit here. Here's a little spiel that we put just in case you're building a new dwelling. That's important. So I'm going to say apply. And the first page is just my information, which I've registered an account, so it knows who I am, so it kind of autofills that stuff. And then on the next page, I'm going to pick an address. I worked with this address a little bit earlier today. So once I pick that address, it fills in all the owner info, all the assessor's info that we have on file. And then I'm going to proceed to my next page, which is just some information about the building permit itself. And then this is where it kind of starts. This is based on the existing paper permit application. So it's going to kind of walk you through every step, every question on that form. So it should look pretty familiar to anyone that's used to filling out a building permit. The 16 pages, so it's just more questions like this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but once you get to the end, you just hit submit and it pushes it to the building department. So once I've done that in my account, this is where I can go to see, these are all my permits or licenses that have been issued to me. These are applications that are either in progress or ones that I've submitted already. You can see, like, I can click on, this is a shellfish permit that I had been doing some testing on. This one has been issued already. Let me get a better example here. This is a food establishment from the health department. This workflow right here kind of lets me know where it is in the process. So if it's green check marks up until building department, I know it's kind of sitting there and they're either waiting for something from me or they just haven't got to it yet. So I can kind of keep track of where it is and what the holdup might be if there is one. Also from here, I can attach if a department asks me for more information, I can just attach something right here. I don't have to come into the town hall. And then once the permit is actually issued on my documents page, I'll get an email that says, hey, congratulations, you got a permit. And I click that link and it'll bring me right here and I can just print my document. Okay. All right, so that's that. Let's see. So let's go over to the in-house side now. That's going to be right here. So this is what it looks like for everybody here in the town hall. This is the listing of the building department for all the completed records that they have. This number looks pretty big, 23,418. That's including all the historical records that we brought in. So that goes back to like 2005. My example. So here's a building permit that was done at 46 Rogers Street. Here are my details. Here's this form that I started to fill out. You see all their answers here. It looks like they're doing some shingling. You kind of people in the office work their way down here, make sure everything's filled in, all the information's correct. Here's your attachments area. They put in all their workers' comp, all their owner authorization stuff. This is the activity feed. So this is actually kind of an audit trail of everything that gets done on this record and who's doing it. So it looks like Bev did a lot of this work so far, and it was submitted by the applicant online. Here's your applicant information, your location information, which shows you on the map, and it gives you a little bit of quick information. Fire District 1, this is the zoning. Remove this thing. View location. I can get more information on that property. So like the assessor's information, owner information, any historical permits that have been attached to that property. I can see all that stuff from here. This one looks like it goes back to 2007. Go backwards. Come on. Okay. So this is the workflow. So internally, all building permits will proceed through this workflow. They'll come into the building department, they'll review it quickly, make sure all the information's there, and then it'll move on to the fee step. Ideally, we want them to pay the fee before we do any work. We put too much work into it in-house. We had some issues with that in the past where it would progress pretty far through the workflow and then they would cancel it when it got to the payment step. So we wanted to make sure we take that fee in before we put any real work into this. From there, it goes to taxes. I want to check, make sure they get their water bills paid. It looks like in this case, health, conservation, and fire were skipped because they weren't required for this particular project. Then it made its way to the inspector review. They decided it's okay to issue this permit, and then it actually gets issued. And this is what this particular permit looks like. So as soon as this record gets issued, this permit actually gets immediately emailed to the applicant. So they don't have to come in, pick it up. They never have to come in here if they don't want. They can pay online. They get their permit online. It works great, I think. After this issuance, this particular record has some additional inspections, but for all intents and purposes, this one is now complete. Okay, so one thing I want to mention that actually directly relates to the select board. The vast majority of the licenses issued through the select board are renewable and they are renewed every year. This is our common vic alcohol entertainment renewal from last year. There were, as you can see, there were 101 total submitted. There were 8, you can kind of ignore this number a little bit, it's not entirely true, but there were 8 at the time that didn't renew. You can see all these different renewals, and this one right here, which that one is in, so it's not really lapsed, but you can see it sends out 4 emails to the person that's going to be hopefully renewing, just to remind them, and it starts 120 days before the expiration date, and it delivers them at equal intervals right up until December 31st, which is when they expire. So you can see it tells you when it sent the email, what the date was, what time it was received. And in fact, if I can find one here, so it even shows you if someone clicked on that email, it'll say clicked. There's probably, yeah, there's some opened here. It tells you they opened the email. So we have a lot more ability to see, you know, what's going on and if people are actually getting our correspondence, which is helpful. Okay, so let's pop over to Laserfiche right now. This is the side of Laserfiche that we see here in the office. So I kind of pre-selected an address here, but basically it's sorted alphabetically by address.
Chad, if I could just add, in case they're not aware, Laserfiche is our digital document imaging system. It's a database that allows us to scan paper historic files into a folder structure, but it also indexes the information so it becomes searchable. So if it turns into PDF files that are searchable, so you could do a word search on documents in the future. So it's a powerful tool, but we're also we're using it to provide this information ultimately to the public, but mostly internally as well. So it's a great tool that we used as part of our Bliss Corner document study. So we took a lot of those documents and scanned them in, and we were able to search on specific words for DEP, and they were appreciative of the fact that we were able to do that.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, so like I was saying, this is sorted alphabetically by street name. We just find it's kind of the easiest way to navigate to things. I put some stuff into Grace Lane earlier today, so I know my address is at Grace Lane, and it's number 2 Grace Lane. So here, if I click on the building department, I have 3 permits. It actually came in fairly recently. I can go in here. I can see a copy of the permit. Any of the other stuff that happened to be attached to that record. Based on the way that this looks, to me, I know that this came straight over from View Permit. We have kind of a tool that links the two, so any documents that come in View Permit automatically get pushed over to Laserfiche, so we don't have to be manually scanning those things in. Looks like there's some health stuff. I grabbed some health documents from earlier today. Again, just this is a trench permit from the health department. I think there's there's also some planning stuff. Eventually, as we work our way through all the filing cabinets in town hall, hopefully most of these departments will be filled up in each address. That way, the public can kind of navigate through this stuff and see absolutely everything that we might have on their property or whoever's property. Okay, so let's take a look at, so this is what we see in the office. Let's take a look at what this looks like on the web itself. So this is what the public's going to see. This page is pretty straightforward. Ideally, what they're going to do is just click this browse the street listing button. Once they get there, it's just alphabetical, so I can navigate to that Grace Lane address. And then I have the same kind of view that I do here in the office right online. So it's going to be really helpful for the public to have an easy route to this stuff as opposed to calling or coming in. I think it's really really handy. The last thing I want to show, back to View Permit for a second. So we have some analytics built in here. There's a lot of reports and stuff in here, and I can create reports on the fly about any number of data points, but the analytics tab itself shows kind of some visuals on what exactly we got going on here. So for this particular graph, this is just all records, all departments, of which it's building, health, and select board for the most part currently. I'm working on planning, zoning, conservation, and sprinkling in some DPW next. But so far for the last year or so, we've had those 3 original departments. So this date range that I used was July 1st, 2020 to July 1st, 2021, just to kind of get a visualization of what we've done for the past year. So this chart doesn't really tell the whole picture here, but if I scroll down, so these are my totals across those 3 departments for what we've taken in just in View Permit this year. So, we've issued 3,200 permits, which in 365 days, I don't know how that's possible, but the building department cranks those things out. We've taken in $724,000 on here in the past year, which I expect that number to be a little bit more next year with our recent building fee increases. I think we're doing great, especially for those 3 departments, and I think this is a good example of what we've done there for the last year. All right, I think that's all I got.
Yeah. So I think what Chad's shown you is, it's a tool that's been very well used and utilized. Chad's been instrumental, obviously, in getting departments set up on this, and particularly the building department and Joe Braga. He is really spearheaded the initiative in the building department, because most of the permits that come in are, they start with the building department. So being able to administer these permits initially out of the building department, and Joe and his staff can direct them and include departments that need to be included. It really helps with the communication internally and externally. And I think you can see where the future is going. We're scanning a number of documents, but also View Permit writes those documents to our Laserfiche system. We received a community compact grant from the state of $50,000 to pay for staffing to scan. And if you've been in town hall, you've seen our 2 scanners, Alex and Justine, working away diligently. It's a laborious process to scan documents. They've got to open folders, take out staples, organize papers, and scan them. They've done an excellent job. There's a lot to do, so our goal is to continue to do that. and then also have the staff maintain that. But it's really not a heavy lift once we get the historic documents in. So, it's been a full-on effort by all the departments. So, and the staff have really adopted it well and taken on. Chad's been great about giving them instructions. I think you just see, and you've seen the difference just in the licenses and the applications that you're reviewing and approving. You're able to see the output from View Permit, and it can be changed in a variety of ways, but you can see how that workflow is going. And it's been a real successful tool. So with that, I'll leave it for you with any questions.
Come a long way, haven't we?
Definitely.
Certainly has. Joe, how are you finding in the building department? How are you finding this process?
The process has been awesome. As you know, since I first started, and Chad and I have worked a lot at this. We first started and got it to tweak it a little bit, and then we finally got to June 1st, where we went all digital, no paper. As the board knows, I addressed that before. That's cut down on a lot, and it's also speeding up the permit process, which I brought this point up more than a few times, because we can see it quicker, and everything being approved online. Builders like when I was a builder, had to go from one department to another with a little piece of paper and get it checked off, signed off, go to fire, go to health, go here, go there. Now that it's uploaded all the documents onto the View Permit, like Chad said, can start in the building department, and each department, DPW, health, conservation, fire, and everyone, and taxes, and everyone can look right on that permit online. And right in real time, they can look at it, either approve it, make a comment, and send that comment back to the applicant, so that they can move quicker to upload what's necessary. Chad and I together worked, and we only had one building permit, and it was used for both. We separated those out, made a residential permit and a commercial permit. Two different permits need two different types of document. That has smoothed the process out a lot, where you don't have the confusion of the homeowners trying to figure out if they need a commercial permit or what they need, and contractors. So it's really brought this a lot easier for the clients to use the online system. They can do it at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. They can do it at 6 o'clock at night. As I've said before, they're not handcuffed to having to come to town hall. Chad has worked a lot and tirelessly. A lot of kudos to what he's accomplished and helped me with to develop the system and bring it to where it is. And you're seeing it as a board, as Chad said. Now you can approve things digitally, and it's just it's working marvelous. It's really awesome right now to see it in its full bloom, how it's operating, and we've had a lot of positive about it. I'm very happy we are where we are.
I know one contractor I was talking to. He had basically said that he had permits in for about 13, 14 projects, and that he clicked on one day, and all of a sudden he had 9 of them already approved. He said that would just never happen if it was all paperwork, and he said that basically the new system is working very well, and he's very happy about it. So, which is good. Mr. Mickelson, you had a
Yeah, no, just curious. What are we doing for backup on all this?
The application's hosted, so we don't host it internally. It's hosted on the web through View Permit is the company. So it is, and it's backed up by them in multiple locations. So if something were ever to happen at town hall and we had to migrate town offices, or we had another COVID incident, this is an application that can be used by anyone with internet access. So, and one thing we didn't mention, I mean, it does so much, but the inspectors go out with tablets in the field and do their inspections in the field, and the applicants are notified in real time about those inspections. So it's not waiting to hear, what the result is. They get notified in real time on their phone or on their via the online application.
And I think that's a very, if I may interject, that's a very important part. Thank you, Sean, for bringing that up. We are doing inspections in a speedy rate. We're able to do them, and as Sean said, we're able to result them in the system quick and tell the contractor keep going. So it does speed things up. And Chad said about the amount of permits. And early on, when I first started, I said it's kind of like a restaurant. The more permits we can issue, the more jobs get done, the more permits get applied for. And today, with the numbers that you've been shown and what I've been showing for a few months, it put that into, I believe, perspective and reality for this board to understand it's that turnover. Get permits issued, get them on the job, get them complete, get another permit, and the system allows us to do that quicker. So they are moving faster with the jobs that they are doing and the projects.
And I think that's the most important part is getting, because one of the bigger complaints that we used to get was the time frame from when they used to come in and where they used to do a lot of walking around the building and then getting the answers. And then the second complaint was the results of the inspections. And so, I mean, that cuts it down tremendously. So, Mr. Tattelbaum?
Yeah, I want a couple things. We have challenged John McGinnis to find us ways to be more efficient, save money, to be streamline the system, and this is one, to me, is one perfect example. And we also then had interviews with Joe Braga to carry forth the program about just exactly what he's talking about, to lead the charge with permits, and here we are. Not many months in, we're doing it and getting it done. I think it's an incredible teamwork and a great job. Quick question, how accurate are the applications coming in? Do they require a lot of massaging, or are people really getting used to it?
I think I can take that. So early on, just getting used to the process. You know, they weren't used to kind of having required documents all at the same time. It's actually been pretty quick as far as, like Joe said, you know, June 1st, we went all online. It probably took a couple of weeks and kind of everybody's on the same page now. So, you know, we get some in every once in a while. They don't have exactly what they need, but overall, I'd say like 90%, it's just, you know, one and done. So,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I would think repeat contractors know exactly what they need, and it's the first timers that have the situation. But that you're a first timer only once. So, Mr. Gracie?
Yeah, thanks. I just want to give kudos to all those concerned that have worked on this project. And for Chad, I want to thank him for the presentation. It's quite an eyeful, and it's good to see. And I'm just curious, are you a contractor or you work for the town?
no, I work for the town.
Okay, good. Well, welcome. I've never met you before, so.
Systems analyst. If you walk into the office and you look straight through, he kind of is in that little
It's hiding.
right-hand side, back in the office a little bit, you know, always looking at his screen. So that's Chad.
The place that used to be a closet?
No, he's out in the open.
Oh, he's in the open.
Yeah, I'm hidden in plain sight.
But he's,
So-
yes, exactly.
Chad's position was created 2 years ago. We created that position for this specific purpose. You know, in my experience, implementing applications like this that are this powerful and comprehensive, internal staff don't have the time or the knowledge all the time to deal with the vendor and kind of make that application happen. You know, Chad's position does just that. He works with the staff, he works with the vendor. He's that go-between that really helps to facilitate a successful product implementation. So it's a well-regarded position. We're at the point now where, you know, we need more Chads, but he does a yeoman's work for just one person dealing with all these departments and all these products. So it's great.
I think Chad needs more Chads because the building department takes up a lot of his time with this system. And I do want to say, before I have to go to another meeting, I cannot emphasize enough the value of Chad during this time of sitting, writing language with me, listening to what I have to say, how to put it on the viewpoint for them to understand. I just can't emphasize the value of what Chad has been to me and my staff in the building department. I mean that in all sincerity. It wouldn't have been possible without Chad being there to move it along.
Well, looking at the final products, there's volumes of his work and everyone else's work. So there's no doubt about it. It's exciting, to be honest with you. You know, that sometimes technology isn't as exciting and whatnot, and permitting, definitely governmental permitting is definitely not an exciting topic, but looking at how it's done and the ease of what it can be accomplished, yeah, this is pretty exciting. So Good job. I appreciate that. That's for sure. And I'm
I
sure.
must move on, board. I have to go meet with another board, but I do thank you for the opportunity to speak for a few moments, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Okay, Joe.
Thanks,
Thank you, Joe.
All right. So, anybody else have any questions regarding the presentation or the permitting process, Mr. Gracie?
Yeah, I got a quick question. I'm a nosy sort of guy. Is this all public access? So if my neighbor's doing something, I want to know what he's doing to his kitchen or whatever, I can find out.
Yes, so actually, once you're on the public facing side, there's a search there. All you gotta do is put his address in and it'll pull up everything that's happened at that address.
Good. It's great. Nobody has to go looking through files or to wait on you. It's great.
All public documents.
Frank, there's a guy digging a tunnel to your house. You better get on it.
Yeah, I know where he is. I've got explosives there.
He's from the gas station.
Does anybody have,
I've been through that with the guy across the street. Thanks for
anybody
reminding
have anything else?
me.
All right. Well, thank you, Chad. We appreciate
Thanks,
it. That's
Chad.
for sure.
Good
Come on,
job,
Chad.
Thanks, guys.
as usual.
Take care.
Okay, next item on the agenda, we have the community center workshop being held tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the town hall, 304. And I see that Cody popped in, so this, I'm sure we're going to go to Cody for this.
Yes, good evening. So, as you know, we've been working on a feasibility study for a community center. We contracted with architects BH Plus. So, our internal team has been meeting with them regularly. And now that COVID is winding down, we're excited to be able to have an in-person workshop. A big part of this process is soliciting public input. And they were able to do that through some surveys that they put out when we couldn't meet in person. But now that we can, we're excited tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in the select board meeting room. They will be giving a presentation, kind of go over the initial findings of their study and, what the study is, kind of just going over exactly that it's just a needs assessment at this point. It's nothing further than that. And also getting feedback from the public. So we've tried to post this everywhere possible on social media. We've distributed it to all department heads to distribute to their boards, committees. So we've tried to get the word out there as much as possible, and we hope to have a big turnout. Whether you're for it or against it, we just want to hear the feedback from residents.
Was it on Zoom?
What was that, Sean?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's in person. Eric.
Yeah. Oh, it's in person. DCTV will be recording it, so that way it can be referenced back in the future.
Great.
Anybody else?
I just might add, I know there's been some discussion about the project. And Cody is pretty clear. It's a feasibility project, so it's a needs assessment. So they're evaluating recreation, council on aging, their programming, what they're offering, what the current needs are, what they anticipate their future needs will be. So it's really a great exercise. Nothing has been set in stone. No decisions have been made. It's really just an analysis. And part of that was to provide them with some locations in town. And frankly, there's not a lot of town land that's available. We did give them some locations, but those aren't set. Those are only for them to have some locations as part of their assessment. They like to evaluate locations. So everything is up in the air. We really want feedback from people. We think the project has great potential. I think the town is growing, so we want to make sure that we're looking out for the future and prepared and set up in a way that can accommodate future generations. So, but other than that, we're open to hear people's input.
Okay. Anything else from the people, from the board?
One more time and date.
6 p.m. Tomorrow in the select board meeting room at town hall.
Great. Thanks, Cody.
All right, I'm just going to take something out of order because Miss Waring is here. So we have an appointment to the Council on Aging, Susan Waring. Hi, Susan. Yep, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, I did it.
There you go. All right.
I'm a whiz.
Just give us a little brief background and why.
I initially learned of the position through an email that was put out by UMass Dartmouth. I guess someone in the nursing program put out an email asking if anyone was interested in serving on the Council on Aging, and had, you know, what the qualifications were, that they had to be a resident of Dartmouth, et cetera. I've been a resident of Dartmouth my entire life. I graduated from Dartmouth High School, and please don't ask me what year. I went on to earn my bachelor's degree in nursing at UMass Dartmouth, and then became a nurse practitioner. So I've been working in long-term care, post-acute care as a nurse practitioner for the past 15 years. And then I went back to school a few years ago and graduated with my PhD in June. And the focus of my dissertation was on elders' adjustment to long-term care. So I've had a long-term interest in the elderly, and especially those in my community. So that's basically my reason.
Okay. Okay. Board members have any questions of Ms. Waring?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mr. Herron. Mr. Gracie?
I just want to know, is this the only opening we have?
I will have to check on that. I'm not sure how many openings we have.
Okay, not that I'm-
Two.
I thought there were two. I thought someone had told me there were two.
I think you're right, yes.
I believe you're right.
Two. One now, after tonight. Okay, on the motion, any questions? Mr. Tattelbaum?
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
Mr. Herron?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
And yes, I vote in favor. Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for applying.
Okay, all right, let's go back to regular business. All right, right now, we have the, up for the board discussion is the Select Board of Code of Conduct. This is something that I came up with, background information, just to let you know. There has been nothing that any of us have done that have precluded me from creating this. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while and was researching it from other towns. The majority of the document comes from the town of Newbury. There is also a social media component that comes from the town of Dennis. The town of Dennis social media came from as a result of some really wonky things going on in the town of Dennis that precipitated the select board from creating this. I am not going to read the entire article, but I would like to read the preamble. And it's to ensure that the citizens and businesses of Dartmouth have a fair, impartial, ethical, and accountable local government that is responsible to the needs of the people and each other, and that has the citizens' full confidence in the integrity of the town's government. The Select Board has adopted this code of ethics. In keeping with a commitment to that excellence, the effective functioning of the democratic Town of Dartmouth government requires that elected public officials comply with both the letter and the spirit of the laws and policies affecting town government. Elected public officials be independent, impartial, and fair in judgment and action. Elected officials work for the public good and not personal gain. Public deliberations and processes be conducted openly unless legally confidential, and all discussions and debate be conducted in an atmosphere of respect and civility. This code of ethics applies to members of the Select Board, hereinafter referred to as members. What this does, gentlemen, is this sets a high standard above and beyond Massachusetts state law, and it gives the public the expectations of how their select board should be. Should this go with other boards? Yes. But as a select board, we can only deal with what we want to deal with. If adopted, this will be published on the website so that people can see exactly what it is. Comments? Mr. Gracie?
I think it's a good idea. I was wondering where it came from. You answered that question. I didn't know if it was something that already existed or something you created or had created. But
It's, I have, in doing the research, I've noticed that several towns have adopted this, let me just say, towns, mostly select, because cities don't count because cities generally are something entirely different government structure. But several towns have adopted this minus the social. This is a hybrid. This will be the first one with the social media. So they've adopted this policy and a social media policy. I've combined the two. The social media policy of the town of Dennis is one page. I took the media portion of it to include it in here. I did, before I sent it out to the board, I did send it to town council. Town council basically said, in essence, it's good. It's unenforceable because legally it's unenforceable. So, but I think what this does is this sets up a standard for us to follow, for future members to follow, and for the public to know that this is the standard that the select board sets for themselves. Mr. Mickelson.
Yes, Sean, I'm really, I appreciate this. I know there's a lot of work to put it all together. I understand the shortcomings of it, that it is unenforceable, and however, it would just bring the board to another level, to make everyone responsible to do the right thing all the time, and mostly, not to for anyone's gain for whatever reason. I believe this board's done a great job. I've been around quite a while. Sean's been around a little longer than I, and I don't believe that we've had any ethics issues. A couple here or there we've dealt with, and it's done with. But other than that, it brings everyone that puts their hand up and swears to do their best for the town of Dartmouth. Now it also, they're going to sign this. We're going to have a new code of ethics for this board and through the state. And it gives the board an opportunity if someone crosses the line, that we're going to hold you to it as a board before we go to the state ethics committee. And this would give us the opportunity at some point to charge that person, he or she, with whatever we feel, and fairly we would get to that point. It's long coming. I really enjoyed reading it. I know it's a little long, and I'm not trying to make this any longer than my feelings. But I just want to make sure that everyone understands that. I think Sean's already said it, but I don't believe anybody on this board has been charged with any ethics violations. It wasn't for that reason. I think we all get along reasonably well. We all agree. Sometimes we disagree. That's what it's all about. That's why we have 5 members. And I truly appreciate working with all 5 of you. It's a good thing. And I know Dave's got a couple of comments, so I don't want to step over some of the things he might say. But Sean, thanks very much.
As I initially stated, there's not been 1 or 2 or 3 incidences that precluded from this. This has been something that's been going on for the last, I would say, year and a half that I've been looking at. And in going through this and typing it and retyping it and making sure that everything's spelling, as I'm going through it, there's been times when I've scratched my head and say, I think maybe I kind of did this, or I kind of maybe wasn't the nicest person. And I recognize that as looking at myself and looking at as I want to be held to a higher standard. I want the public to know that I'm being held to a higher standard. And I want the public to expect us to be held to a higher standard. Mr. Tattlebaum.
Sean, I think, first off, I really appreciate the thought and effort that went into it, and I think it came from a genuine concern And I frankly, I'm in favor of what they're doing, but I would like to go a little bit further, but to consider a couple of things. I went back and looked at the code of conduct, the code of ethics, conflict of interest laws from this Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and they run parallel. It really has to do with laws about conflict of interest. And I think that in the preamble we should acknowledge in some form that conflict of interest that we also are held to by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I would to consider some language to include that in the preamble.
Well, it's not so much in the preamble, but in section 2, it says members shall comply with the laws of the United States, the state of Massachusetts, and the town of Dartmouth in the performance of their duty.
Well,
These laws are not limited to the United States and Massachusetts state constitutions and statutes, the town of Dartmouth bylaws and policies, Dartmouth Special Act, and laws pertaining to conflicts of interest, election campaigns, financial disclosures, employee responsibilities, and open processes of government, all of which are hereby incorporated herein and by reference and made. So it's stated right there that United States law and Massachusetts general law is incorporated.
Well, but the thing that we signed specifically is, and we have to review on a 2-year basis, is the code of ethics by the Commonwealth. And I think that it needs to be, I think that if you want to put in that paragraph, mention specifically that code of ethics in some form.
Well, I think the compliance with the law fits it right in, and that's all encompassing, and that includes that. Part of our duties is the signing of the ethics, and everybody has to do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to do it. I think John did it, you did it, Stanley did it, and I did it several times. So I think it's worth being built into that.
I still think it's worth specific, but the other thing is that it's interesting. One of the paragraphs they say that the code of ethics encourages to establish and enforce additional standards of conduct. So the state Commonwealth is almost saying, go ahead and do it because we think it's a pretty good idea. The other thing I would consider also is I think this deserves a lot of visibility. I think something to the tune of the annual turnover of our board should be a time when we should acknowledge that this document exists. You're looking for an annual review and a re-signing of it, and I think we should consider doing an annual review, making any changes, and then pledge it publicly to our constituents that we're doing it and doing it again, and make it a very visible and open acknowledgement of this thing exists, and treat it that way because it deserves more respect than just signing it and putting it on a shelf somewhere and knowing that we did it. I think it needs some visibility regularly on an annual basis.
I think posting it online and having it available for the public to see, plus the fact that when there is a new member to the board, that he or she be given this. And
I see what you did. I don't think it's enough.
The standards that the board has set for itself. And this document is not written in stone. It is a fluid document that can be changed, added to, deleted to, and whatnot as time goes, as we or future boards see fit. Who knows down the line whether the state would come up with something entirely new that needs to be incorporated. That can be done. But this gives us right now a bookmark and a mark in how people should see how their elected officials.
That's not my debate here. My debate is the visibility is even more important, you're saying. And I think that it needs to be looked at each year, and that when it does, we agree on it, and then we need to pledge again year after year the same conduct every single year to make it visible and make it meaningful, get some teeth to it, and people see it. And we just by our pledging to it each year, it's one more, as you said, as you typed it up. You saw things, you looked at things, you decide, have I done this? Every single year is a reminder. I think it's a great tool to ourselves, and personally how we conduct ourselves, and to show the public we take it that much more seriously. I'd like to consider that.
And we could do that, when we rearrange the chairman each year on that date.
You can do it at the time of organization.
Exactly. Right. Yep. So that'd be part of that, that celebration.
I think it should be part of the document.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Thank you for doing it, John.
What would the board like to do?
Motion to accept as written.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Harron and seconded by Mr. Gracie to go with the document as presented in the warrant, well, this week's warrant. Any questions on the motion? Okay, vote. Mr. Tattlebaum. Mr. Tattlebaum?
I'm thinking.
Okay. I don't want to go out of order. It makes it easier when they write up the minutes to go by the same ding, 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 ding.
It's not.
I'll get back to you. Mr. Harron.
Yes.
Mr. Gracie.
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson.
Yes.
Okay, now Mr. Tattlebaum.
I guess I can't ask the questions, but all I can do is vote.
Well, I'd ask the questions. Were there any questions?
Yeah, I guess I missed that, so I'll vote yes.
Okay, thank you. And the chair votes in favor. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for this. Mr. McGinnis, if we can, I'll send you a new document that has the adopted date on it as of today. And then you can put that onto the web and put it in part of whatever policy book that we have and keep it out to the forefront. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda. Yeah, something else from me too. Municipal Broadband Advisory Committee, Mr. McGinnis.
Yes, per the request of the board, we drafted a committee charge for a municipal broadband advisory committee. This committee would be tasked at evaluating market demand and the need for a municipally provided broadband network in town. It's going to evaluate the feasibility of a broadband network and other business models for service delivery for the municipal broadband network in town. So basically, they're tasked with seeing if it's a viable alternative for the town to provide its own municipal broadband network. The membership I have is 5 members. 3 town staff, the director of development, the information technology director, and the director of community media, as well as 2 at-large members of the community appointed by the select board.
Okay. All right. Mr. Gracie.
Yeah, I have at least one question that could lead to 2. Does this replace the former Comcast advisory committee we were trying to put together?
No, that's completely separate. That's to review the Comcast franchise agreement contract, which we will be putting that committee together soon as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And the
I had
second,
initially put them both together, but now I think the focus on should be separate. So that
Well, they are separate entities.
Yeah.
Really.
well, I could argue that part of dealing with the Comcast contract would be to have an alternative, which is this. So, but it's okay. I can go with either way. The one thing that stuck with me was with all that was put together, there's only 2 people from the citizenry that on that committee, and I thought it should be more. And not general public. There's not general public. There's only 2 people from the general public, which would seem to be short.
Right.
And if it was part of the Comcast committee, I have 2 people who've been haunting me to be on it. I don't know if they want to be on this one instead or in addition to. I don't know, but it just seems to be 2. I'd rather see something like 5. That's
Yeah.
That's where the ideas come from.
Yeah, I'd like to increase the membership to 7 so that the select board is appointing 4 people. And that gives the majority of the board over the tech. I still want the tech people in there because I think that's very important, but I think 4 members at large is a good number.
Yeah, I wasn't insinuating we should replace somebody. I agree with you that we should just have more people.
Yeah, I think on this issue, I think having 4 members at large who are interested in this kind of gives it a little bit more legwork and responsibility because it's it's the general public that's going to be doing this. So similar to what Fairhaven has embarked on. So this is that I think that'll be a good thing. So I like to see the membership increase to 7. If that's,
I agree.
Okay. You want to make that as a motion?
I would, yes.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, on the motion to establish a municipal Broadband Network Advisory Committee, where 3 of the members would be town technical people and 4 members at large to be appointed by the select board. Any questions on that? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Tattlebaum.
Yep.
Mr. Herron.
Yes.
Mr. Gracie.
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson.
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, are we going to have a citizens committee for the charter, for the review of Comcast also coming up?
Yes, so that's coming up,
Okay, great.
maybe probably the end of this month, the next meeting.
Okay, terrific. All right, next item on the agenda, we have a special municipal employee appointment for George Sansucci. It
Says
says Brian on our warrant, but it's George.
Okay.
According to the letter. So, it's like, my grandfather was John. His nickname was Jack. Go figure. Okay, so George Sansucci is looking for special municipal employee designation for effective for 1 year. Board's pleasure.
Motion to appoint.
That's a reappointment, right?
Yes.
Yeah, motion to reappoint.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mr. Gracie. On the motion, any questions? Mr. Tattlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Herron?
Yes.
Mr. Gracie?
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson?
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, next item on the agenda is the chief of police contract. Mr. McGinnis.
Yes, so this contract in your packet is for a new, a continued 3-year contract for Chief Levesque. It's got all the information in there, a 2.5% increase over his current salary and continued for the next 2 years. Additional change is the sick time buyback, which changes from 20% to 35%, which is lower than the average of other police chief contracts, but an increase over the existing 20%.
Okay. All right, Mr. Herron.
I'm going to vote no on this contract because of the sick leave buyback. It should be uniform across the board for all town employees at 20%.
Okay.
I can make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Herron. Is there any other questions on the contract itself? All right, board's pleasure.
I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Mickelson?
I'd like to make a motion that we offer the Chief Levesque a 3-year contract, 2.5% increase, sick leave for unused sick leave to 35%, which is, thank you for offering that at a much lower rate than the surrounding towns do. So that will bring Chief Levesque's pay to $180,232.78.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Mickelson,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Gracie. On the motion, any questions? Okay, just a real quick, on the sick leave buyback, there is a finite number of days, correct?
No,
Well, or is it just whatever's accrued?
whatever's accrued.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions, comments? Okay, on the motion, Mr. Tattlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Herron,
And no.
thank you, Mr. Gracie,
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson,
Yes,
and the chair votes in favor. Approved.
congratulations, Chief.
Thank you, board.
Okay. All
Glad to have you back.
right, the question is, gentlemen, do we use the stamp or you want to go in and sign the contract?
I'm going to sign it. I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay,
Since they're just as valid, I suggest that we use the stamp.
okay. Mr. Tattlebaum,
I'll go in and sign.
okay. Okay, I know Mr. Herron won't sign the contract because he voted no, and I appreciate that. Two are gonna sign. I'll go in and sign it too. Frank, you can we'll stamp your name, okay?
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Let me just scroll over to the next one. All right. Deputy chiefs. Okay, both deputy chiefs' contracts are up. Mr. McGinnis.
Yes, so the two deputy chiefs contracts are up. The contracts are similar to the previous contracts, with the exception that the base salary for each is $120,550. They also are eligible for the college incentive program, which provides 20% for a bachelor's degree and 25% for a master's degree. This is in line with the police brotherhood contract benefit, and it is in line with that contract and the difference between different ranks within that contract. So the way the new contract is set up, it allows for better recruitment and retainment internally of staff. So, and it provides for more parity between the staff.
Okay. Mr. Gracie?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment that I've made before, but I'll do it again because I think it's important. I will vote against both of these because I believe the way we're calculating contracts now, they result in raises between $15,000 and $25,000. I think that's ridiculous. We need to do something different, even if it's just spreading out raises and stuff. One-time hits like that I think are detrimental, and they also become additive. So whatever you give somebody now, anything you get after that is based on a bigger number. So
I appreciate the comment, and I know, I think when we discussed this previously, the base contract for each of them are being lowered under the new contract, and then the college incentives, which they were not getting, which would they now get under this new contract, increases that. So where they were under the old contract, if that was added, if the college incentives were added to that, the cost of each contract would actually be higher. So there is some money savings, but it still doesn't negate the fact that Mr. Gracie disagrees with the amounts differences between the two, and I can fully understand that. So, board's pleasure.
I'd like to make a motion.
If I could just finish the thought.
Sure. Go ahead.
What you said is true, but the education was always considered in previous contracts. So while it wasn't itemized, it was taken into account for salary reasons.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, Frank.
No.
Not the last one. No.
No.
Not the last deputy contracts. Not the last contracts.
This is the first time we're
With the
doing it.
Brotherhood, yes, but not with the previous deputy contracts.
I remember conversations were always talking about what education the person brought to the job.
Right. We talked about it, but it was never implemented.
Well, it weighed into my decisions, so.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Mickelson.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we give a contract to Deputy Chief Story and Deputy Chief Vincent. Their base contract numbers are $120,550, and with the education incentive, Deputy Chief Vincent has a 25% college incentive, and Deputy Chief Story has a 20% because one has a PhD and one has a
Bachelor's.
yes. So
Okay, that's the motion.
Yep.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Tattlebaum. On the motion, any questions or comments? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Tattlebaum.
Yes.
Mr. Herron.
Yes.
Mr. Gracie.
No.
Mr. Mickelson.
yes,
And the chair votes in favor. Okay. So we have our command staff in lockdown for another 3 years.
congratulations to the two deputy chiefs.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief Levesque.
Thank you.
Nice to have your presence here.
Nice to be present.
As short as that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the last item under new business, we have board and commitment appointments. We have a hearing officer, Scott Lake. Mr. Lake's hearing officer is for dog and parking, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, correct.
Board's pleasure.
Motion to approve.
There a second?
I'll second if you took his first.
As what? I'm sorry?
If you took his first, I'll take the second.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Harron and seconded by Mr. Gracie. On the motion, any questions? Okay, Mr. Saddlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Harron,
Yes.
Mr. Gracie,
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson,
Yes.
and the chair votes in favor. Okay. All right, that concludes new business, old business. We have any COVID updates? Hopefully not.
No COVID updates. So we are getting closer to business as usual every day. So that's a good sign.
Okay. Any updates on Bliss Corner?
I can give an update. As you know, in the past, we received the letter from DEP, the Notice of Responsible Party letter. We replied back about scheduling a meeting date with DEP. We're still waiting to hear back from DEP on that potential date to meet. In the meantime, the town is in the process of retaining legal counsel that specializes in hazardous waste cleanup and dealing with DEP, as well as dealing with other communities such as New Bedford. And we're also in the process, per DEP's letter, of evaluating licensed site professionals, LSPs, to provide support to the town per their letter. So we have not presented anyone to the board yet, but we are still in the interview process of evaluating candidates.
Okay, terrific. Okay, anything else from the board on that? Okay. Lake Nokichoke, any updates?
No new updates on Lake Nokichoke.
Okay. All right, and that includes old business. All right, minutes, June 7th and June 21st.
Motion to accept.
Thank you, Mr. Harron.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Gracie. Thank you. On the motion, any questions? Any comments? Roll call. Mr. Tattlebaum.
Yes.
Mr. Harron.
Yes.
Mr. Gracie.
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson.
Yes.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay. Scrolling all the way down to the end. Let's see if I got any announcements. Okay, Mr. McGinnis, can you handle this announcement, please? The one from Melanie Perry, that's at the end of the.
Oh, the Council on Aging is having the first ever day at the beach this Friday, July 16th, from 9 to 2 at Jones Park, which is at 66 St. John Street, and most people know where Jones Park is. They will be offering free outdoor exercise classes. 9 a.m. is Tai Chi with Joe. 10 a.m. is yoga with Nancy. 11:15 is conditioning with Cam. Also at 12:30, there's a cookout and a DJ. Tickets for the cookout are $5. Tickets go on sale at the COA beginning, last Friday, the 2nd. So you can get tickets this week. And there'll be a continual shuttle bus from the COA building to Jones Park for people that are participating.
Wonderful. And how about the previous item that was on the agenda regarding the flat tire?
Page
Oh,
90.
I'm sorry. So
DPW, yes.
I didn't see that in here. So I just want to add, a few weeks ago during the extreme heat, it was 95 degrees. One of our building inspectors, Dave Brunette, had got a flat tire up by Bishop Stang. He has had some health issues this past year, so we were concerned about his safety. We were arranging to go pick him up, but two members of Dartmouth's DPW, Sean Botello and Bailey Oliveira, stopped by on their route and were made aware of Dave's situation. They stopped by on their route to change his tire and get him on his way. So, these are things we talk about in our meetings about everyone pitching in a variety of ways outside of their normal duties, and COVID helped to establish that. So it's great to see staff pitching in to help other staff in ways like this that shows a real sense of community in town. So I wanted to commend them, and I sent that along to the board, but I also sent that along to their supervisor to pass along to them. It was a great service to the community.
Well, I don't think it's lost on any of us on the board of how our employees work with the public and how they've dealt in the past. And this is just one of many examples of how people go up above and beyond their normal day-to-day duties to help out. So definitely there's an appreciation there. It's let's put it this way, with today's social media, it's easier to bash and you know, just take a subject and run with it. But it's much harder to give compliments, but there are many people out there who do compliment staff, and we hear it on different levels, different departments, whatnot. So, and we know that we have very good people that work in this town, and it is appreciated by all of us, that's for sure. With that, gentlemen, does anybody have anything else to bring up? Mr. Tattlebaum.
I've gotten a few calls and inquiries regarding where we stand at the DPW with water quality and notices. Would it be appropriate in one of our upcoming meetings to get some kind of some information or where we stand and where it's going, to give people a little more information on that?
Well, I think we did that the last time, but yes, we can do that again.
You know, we take a big hit on this. I think the more information we give, the better.
Right. And I mean, you know, all of us have been through this time and time again. And the letters that go out really are not the most lovey-dovey letters there is. It's like all of a sudden they got to give it's a standard form that must be followed. And the reporting is there. And I noticed over the years the level of it has gone down. It's the level of whatever the trichloramines, is that what it is, or something like that, is at 0.80, and the testing is at 0.82. And it's still an item that has to be adjusted. I know we have in the past put in a significant amount of money to get a lot of these dead ends cleared up. One of the bigger problems that we ever had was at the dead ends of Reed Road, the dead ends at Fons Corner Road. And now that since those two ends have now been looped through Old Fall River Road, we no longer have that problem. The thing is, behind the flushing is to get the water moving and to get going. But if you don't have to have the manpower to get the water flushing, to get the water moving by flushing and keeping it within the system and keeping it going, then you're reducing the numbers and the need for those type of letters. But it is important that that this be addressed, and that we hear the updates from the water department on how they're addressing these issues. And it would be, I know it would be interesting to get a report probably towards the beginning of the fall, when we have 6 months into the new system, the new treatment system, to see how that's going, and whatnot. So
I just think the more said, the better, and as soon as we can, because it's changing all the time, and people deserve more than just a letter. And I'd like to hear from the DPW.
Well, that's true. I mean, like I said, the letter is not the most friendliest letter to go out, but it's a standard form letter, unfortunately.
So why don't we have somebody come, DPW Water Department, on the 26th?
Let's see, they started the new treatment system when, in March, April,
I think
March
it's kind of
22nd.
yeah.
that time around. Okay, so they should have some testing data already.
Either that or August 9th. You know, either.
I'd like to get it as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, let's do July 26th.
That'd be my
If
request.
if they have new testing data available, yes, July 26th would be good, but I would like to have some testing data done, so that at least there's some meat to the, other than just saying that this is what they're doing. Let's get some data in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Gracie.
I'm just wondering if it makes sense that we adopt a policy of every time a letter goes out, we do this. So we follow any letter up with a presentation, even if it's short.
Yeah.
By the water people.
Well, we got to find out when the letters go out. I think they go out quarterly or half a year or something like that.
I'm not sure their testing cycle.
Yeah, it all depends upon the testing cycle. So, I mean, the number, I'm not sure what the number one topic is on social media, but this is one of them. The orange bags, the orange bags are another one.
I would add, Sean, that we need to show some leadership here and work with the DPW when the loads go out, what they're going to say. We should see maybe even first. This is a giant issue that people deserve better than what they're getting.
Well, I think we need to know the testing cycle too.
Whatever, the whole shooting match. It's too important.
Yep.
Thank you.
Because, I mean, let's put it this way. It's not being addressed. That's for sure. It is being addressed. I hate to use the double negative, but it is being addressed, and you know,
We can do better.
The new treatment system. You can always do better.
No, I'm talking about I'm reporting and letting people know what's going on. I have faith in what they're doing, but people should know what's going on.
Right.
Won't hurt. Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Since nobody has anything else to bring up, the motion was made to adjourn by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mr. Herron. On the motion, Mr. Tattlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Herron,
Yes.
Mr. Gracie,
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson,
Yes.
and the chair votes in favor. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your help tonight. Did a lot of good.
Thanks. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
see you in 2.